Yeah, so chat. The question that I have been seeing this debate on TikTok, and I want to give my thoughts on it, which is this: is anime or what was it? Is anime politics? What was the question in Hamoud? It's like anime is just a form of media. All media has a political influence. Now, sometimes it's like something has a political influence, but might not be making a direct political commentary. Other times, something is a direct political commentary. We can literally look at like video games, right? There are some video games that really don't have that much to do with politics. I mean, I could try to like bullshit you and tell you how like, I don't know, Animal Crossing is like trying to like promote capitalist like loan shark tendencies from Tom Nook, right? But technically, insofar as Animal Crossing has a system where you can go into debt to Tom Nook, therefore it was influenced by modern day politics and capitalism, technically, right? You see what I'm saying? Whereas like a very clear political video game would be BioShock. BioShock, in its nature, the nature of the founding of Rapture was based on ideas of, was Ayn Rand's, fucking idea. It's like if you pushed Ayn Rand into the ocean and let her build a city. That's how Rapture was made. One Piece is political. I mean, my guess is, oh, this is the clip in question. All right, let's see this. Let's see what they're saying.
Which is a very political anime, Connor.
It's okay. Well,
it is a very political
what?
anime.
You told me One Piece is very political.
Yes.
What aspect?
Oh my God, yes, I love this. Okay. This is gonna piss off everybody, but I'm so right about this, even though like I'm okay, first of all, again, maybe a little bit too long as an arc. He's quite literally about like, indigenous populations being removed from their land and like violently trying to find autonomy and emancipation through violent means directly against like an enemy that is much more powerful than them. That is like that's like a land back movement, which is inherently very political, very leftist.
I feel like I read a different.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to describe this to him. He's like, "What are you talking about?"
It's about like, man, I saw funny gum man.
Yeah. No, One Piece is about having fun with your friends and being free.
Yeah, what? Exactly.
I mean, first of all, Luffy is a terrorist. He is. I mean, he literally is. He's fighting.
I hate that you're kind of right.
Yes,
I fucking hate that you're kind of right.
Yeah, he is a freedom fighter in the most like honorable sense of the word.
I think Hassan is wrong here. I think Hassan is doing something where you are taking your own politics and your own interpretation of the world, and you are then forcing it and pressing it upon a piece of media without actually asking the original creators and writers. So now you want me to be, listen, I'll call Hassan out on this. Now what you're doing is you are west-washing a piece of Japanese media, and you are basically ascribing your ideas of political struggle and pressing it upon One Piece when that was not the author's original intent. So I actually think that that's the politics I see
against
here.
An unjustifiable, corrupt military apparatus that is like holding the entire world hostage, the world government and the Navy. He's literally killing cops. Like he's killing sea cops, and motherfuckers are like, no, that's not politics. What do you mean? That's just like gum man having fun.
I mean, the thing is, like, I remember you saying this yesterday when we were having dinner, and I was just like, I think with One Piece, just because of the art style and just the way things are, how funny Rubber Man, of course, you can take it at that level, and it's still very, very interesting stories. But if you break down some of the stuff that happens, half of it is Luffy going up against a corrupt government or corrupt.
So, yeah, if the question is, do I think One Piece is political? I think what they are doing is they are taking Western discussions of politics and pushing them on this show. Is what they're saying wrong? No, it's not necessarily wrong. But now this is one where I'm like, I don't know if their interpretation would agree with the original writer's interpretation. Because insofar as like you make a show about pirates and you're like, oh, the pirates go against a government navy, right? Like, think about it the other way. Can I then make a show about pirates without including all of this political jargon in it? And it's like, well, maybe they just had the idea of the pirates are rebelling against authoritarian force, right? I weirdly enough, I'm going to be honest, the way Hassan talks about this, I feel like Hassan is forcing his politics onto One Piece. That's the way it sounds to me. Now, maybe the creator of One Piece is like, yes, absolutely. This was the exact struggle I wanted to convey when I wrote One Piece. You see what I'm saying? Conversely, and again, I feel like if you were to talk to the writers of Code Geass, and you were to ask them about why they chose to portray the struggle of Lelouch against Britannia, they would be way more likely to cite actual political influence and stuff in the creation of Code Geass, if that makes sense, chat. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're doing the thing that I used to do in English class where I would read some chapter and then, or I wouldn't even read the chapter. I'd skim through it and then the teacher would call on me and ask me to explain it. And I just bullshit a bunch of stuff that author never intended. And it wasn't really alluding to at all, but some dumbass English major just fucking made it up what it was about. We all did that in English class, you know? Here's that. All right. Well, One Piece is a fantastical adventure. Creator Ikiro Oda integrates these political ideas to provide a meaningful narrative that encourages viewers to reflect on their own values and the societies they live in. Sure, absolutely. And I'm sure, like, that's the other thing is, like, I don't like that it's like One Piece is political or One Piece is not political. It's somewhat political. There's certainly political messages in it. And you can take those political messages however you want. For instance,
I love this. Okay.
if you're Hassan, this is how you're going to. What's funny about this, chat, is it's literally up to your interpretation. Of course, when somebody as I don't mean to say Hassan's politics rotted, but when some guy who literally just lives and breathes politics and and has to siphon through a million tweets about the most horrific political violence going on in our world 24/7. When he watches One Piece, he's probably going to think this.
It's gonna piss off everybody, but I'm so right about this, even though I'm okay. First of all, again, maybe a little bit too long as an arc. He's quite literally about indigenous populations being removed from their land and violently trying to find autonomy and emancipation through violent means.
Google essentially says it's only about politics. This is an AI response from Google, Calamity Farms, because you asked what you asked. In fact, Calamity Farms, I'm going to clock you here. You asked, is One Piece political? And so the AI then answered you and said, yes, One Piece is a deeply political work using Of course it's going to answer it that way. Everything is a deeply political work when you ask AI it, because guess what? What do you think AI is going to, chat, you need to understand how AI is going to work. It is going to search for all the people that wrote about how One Piece is political. But it's not going to look for the counterfactual because no one's writing that One Piece isn't political. Does that make sense? Yes, you wrote, is One Piece political? And guess what it did? It went and, bro, think about it. What would AI do? It's going to comb all of the Reddit accounts, all of the news articles, everything where someone wrote a thesis about why One Piece is political. But no college student is like, I'm going to write a thesis about how One Piece isn't political. Does that make sense? See, for instance, if I Google, is Winnie the Pooh political? Yes, Winnie the Pooh has become a symbol used in political commentary, particularly in China. You see what I'm saying? You can ask it if anything is fucking political and it's going to answer yes. Oh my God. While not overtly a political story, Demon Slayer has been interpreted as having political subtext, particularly its portrayal of the Demon Slayer Corps as a militaristic hierarchical organization during Japan's Taisho era. You literally cannot Google something and it won't be political. Yes, the Powerpuff Girls can be considered political because it explores themes of feminism, gender roles, and class, with some academic critiques highlighting how the show's villains, through radicalized anthropomorphism, perpetuate racist and classist messages, thereby supporting a white middle-class patriarchal. So the reason why you need to understand why anytime you search if something is political is you need to understand how AI works. This is actually a broader thing that chat should understand. You guys have to understand that when you are searching this stuff and getting an AI response, what it is finding is it's finding all the references to this thing, Powerpuff Girls, and political. There is not going to be a counterfactual. Think about it this way. Who goes on to Reddit or who goes on to Twitter and writes, here is my thesis for why Powerpuff Girls is not political? That makes no sense. People only write these commentaries, these essays, in the positive of it and trying to find political or socio-political meaning within the media. So you're always going to get that answer from AI. Right? Like, I think this A Wake Up has a much better take. What are the main themes of the anime One Piece? The main themes in One Piece include friendship, the pursuit of dreams, freedom versus oppression. That is a political concept. Adventure, justice, and morality. These are also, but it's like maybe only like half of it really explores it. Maybe it's a little bit like the fight against a corrupt system. But most of One Piece is more of a tale of friendship and adventure. There's political undertones, sure, but I think the degree to which One Piece is political, that Hassan thinks it's political, is a reach. There you go. I think Hassan is reaching. He's reaching. He's reaching. And again, it's like I think people are looking for. I think this is this weird thing in media where it's like people are like, it's either political or it's not political. That's just not how the world. Like, stop thinking of the world in fucking binaries, chat. Holy shit. Like, that's the key. The world is just not black and white, okay? It's not, something is not political, nor is it apolitical. It's probably some mix, okay? Just, you know. What about Gundam? Gundam is for instance, okay, here's a great example. Which is more political? Maybe you should ask it that way. Which is more overtly political, One Piece or Gundam? Absolutely Gundam. Absolutely Gundam. Because they literally refer to the Gundam pilots, or they refer to Hiro Yui as a terrorist, even within the context of of its own show. They refer to the acts of terror of, like, if we're talking Gundam Wing, they literally refer, to the colonies trying to gain their independence. They refer to acts of mass terror, the idea of whatever the operation is where they were going to drop a colony on Earth. It's much more overtly political. So I think a better thing is, if you want to give me a list of animes, I will tell you how political or apolitical they are. Is One Piece more political than, say, Demon Slayer? Yes. Death Note is way more political, though, than One Piece. Death Note is more of like a philosophical politics, maybe less like overt structures, but much more like Death Note's way more political than One Piece. So maybe a better question is, let's ask if Hamtaro is political. Is Hamtaro political? Oh, the first one we got no. Guys, Hamtaro is not political. Thanks, Google. First one we got a no for. So I guess here's the thing. The question is, which shows, I think any large complete works would contain political aspects, otherwise the story would be weak. Yeah, exactly. So I think a better question for Hassan is, which animes are more or less political than One Piece? I would argue there's a lot more animes that are more overtly political than One Piece. Code Geass, Gundam Wing, Death Note. Some of the most popular ones are way more political. Whose jersey is this? Chicago Blackhawks. Oh, Attack on Titan. Yeah. I would argue like probably some of the most popular animes of all time are way more political than One Piece. Name every One Piece character. Well, there's One Piece the character. I'm kidding. Yeah, name every. Are we talking the main crew or all of them? We'll never know all of them. But chat, does that? Are we good on the topic of anime and politics? How much One Piece have you seen / read? I think I've watched probably a total of like 20-ish episodes. So what, like 1%?